Hi everyone, today we are making some egg salads. Of course, we'll be starting off with some hard-boiled eggs. So we want the yolks to be fully cooked through, not the jammy egg yolk, but the really hard-boiled egg consistency. As you can see here, I am separating the yolks and the whites. This allows the egg yolks to really be mashed to the fine consistency, the creamy consistency that you want, without causing the egg whites to be mashed up too finely. So you can decide how chunky you want your egg whites to be later on. So how do I get the eggshells off from the hard-boiled eggs really easily? Immediately after the eggs are cooked through, I will immediately put them into an ice bath and for a period of time. So what does this do? It saves me my fingers from being burnt by the eggs, and also at the same time it shocks the system so that the shells can come up pretty easily, as you can see here. Sometimes when you're peeling the eggs, of course the shell could be stuck onto your finger, and having some water nearby helps you to get the shells off pretty easily. So let's finish peeling the eggs. While you're watching me peel the eggs, let me introduce what are the ingredients that I'm using for this egg salad. As you can see, I'm using some Japanese cucumbers. So what I've done with these Japanese cucumbers beforehand is I've washed them and sliced them into thin slices. I keep the skin on because it helps to retain some crunch and it adds a nice color. So I've slice it to thin slices. I use a mandolin for that, so it's more consistent. And then I added some salt to it and massage it through so that I can draw the waters out, so that later on when I add it to the salad, the cucumber will not release water and make the egg salad soggier than it needs to be. Also at the same time, I will be adding some corn kernels. This one I just bought it off the shelf in this ready-made packets, and crisp up some bacon in the oven. As you can see here, I'm adding a touch of mustard. This helps to give it a nice tang. And also at the same time, I'm using Japanese mayo, the Kewpie mayo, of course. Of course, you can use the regular mayo, but personally I prefer the taste of the Kewpie mayo. I've added some salt to this. I'm using sea salt in this case. I'm adding a bit of rice vinegar for the additional tang, which I like, and it also helps to moisten up the egg yolk when I'm mashing it through so that it can become creamier. As you can see here, I'm using this small silicone spatula to help me mash up the egg yolks. I find that this is handy and it helps me to gain better control. Of course, you can use any kind of instrument or utensils. Yeah, that's the correct utensils to mash up. And it's just muscle power from here on. Mash. Having a butter knife handy around helps you to be able to scrape off the egg yolk so that you can really get to all of them and mash it up. What I'm looking for is a creamy and smooth consistency. You may need to add some mayo along the way to get to the consistency that you want, which is what I did in this case. That's why I find cooking therapeutic, because it's just while you're doing this, it's just you and the process and keeping the outcome in mind, how to get to the outcome that I really want. And it's just training of patience, I think, for me, because I am an impatient person in real life. And the cooking process forces me to slow down and to enjoy the process. The cooking process is also training in organization. As you can see here, I have all the ingredients laid out in front, and having all these things done beforehand allows the cooking process to be smooth. And this is something that we all can apply in real life, isn't it? Like when we're getting ready to maybe do project work or do a piece of work, the idea is to just put all the things that we need in front of us so that we do not have to go all over the place and our thinking process gets disrupted. And that's how, I guess, work could be therapeutic. And now I've added the egg whites into the egg yolk mixture. So you see I'm using a butter knife to cut the egg whites into the size that I want. So you can have it as chunky as you like, or just a nice bite-sized piece. Of course, everybody's bite is different. So you can decide how you want to do this, and once you're done, you can stop. And as you mix along, of course, you find the bigger pieces, you can just continue to cut them down if you want. And now, I'm tasting a bit of cucumber just to make sure that it's the right taste. And adding all the cucumbers in. And next, I'm adding some of this corn kernel, sweet corn kernels I get from a packet. You can use any brand, but don't buy those with the cream because you want it to be dry. And now I am just breaking up the bacon, the crispy bacon. It's a very colorful salad. The reason why I like to eat this is that there are many different kind of textures, and it's very colorful. It's a very happy salad to eat. Not everything is just one color. I really like to see a variety of color. I eat with my eyes as well. And also at the same time, I like to have different textures within the salad itself. Sometimes a bit of softness, a bit of crunchiness. Is that what you like too? So now it's just to gently mix up all the ingredients that I put in so that you will be able to get a bit of everything when you scoop up a spoonful of this egg salad. So I will use this butter knife to help me separate out some of the ingredients, especially the cucumbers, because they tend to stick together. So the idea is that once you scoop up some egg salad, you have a bit of everything. The perfect bite in one spoon. Mix. And of course you want to taste it first, so that you just want to make sure that you have the right level of saltiness. I always make it a point to add just a tiny bit of salt, just enough salt at the beginning, because I'm adding a few different ingredients. I have salted the cucumbers ahead of time. There's a bit of savory sweetness to the corn, and I'm using bacon as well as tobacco, as you can see down here, and these in itself contains a bit of a salty taste to them. So when it comes to salting the food, I always believe that it's easier to add than to take away. So at the beginning, when I'm seasoning the egg yolk, it's just a pinch of salt, and then as I build up along, taste along the way, and once you feel that okay, that's it, you can stop there. If you find that it needs a bit more salt, then of course you can add salt then. But bear in mind, egg salad is best kept overnight or a little bit longer to allow the taste to fully integrate. So as it sits in the fridge over time, the taste will deepen and add on. Meaning to say that if you salt your food too much, by the time that you're ready to eat it, it could be too salty. So it's better to just be on the more cautious side, just to add a little bit at the beginning, And when you're ready to eat, if it's really not salty enough, then add the salt. So as you can see here, I'm putting it into an airtight container so that it will be ready to serve. So this egg salad is good to keep for 2 to 3 days in the fridge. That is if you can resist the temptation to finish them all in one sitting. So that's why I'm packing some into a smaller container so that I can have it without having to wait for too long. So there you have it, the egg salad. Would you give it a try? Let me know in the comments below if you did and how it turned out for you. I'm gonna store mine in the fridge now. Have a great weekend.